Are you looking for great mods in Warframe? Well, I'm Tipsy and today we'll be covering how to get these powerful mods used in many different builds in Warframe from even early game to end game and exactly where we have to look and farm for them. So remember to like the video and let's just get right into it. So as you actually start out in Warframe, you'll quickly be introduced to something called the Spy missions, which the first one being Cambria on Earth. And these missions will actually have some very powerful early game mods like Volcanic Edge and the Victorous Frost mods, which can be quite useful in the early game. These two mods can drop from rotation C inside tier 1 spy mission vaults with about a 10% chance to actually drop, and tier 1 spy vault missions can be found on Earth, Venus, Mercury, Mars and Phobos. So doing any spy mission on these planets will actually be a tier 1 spy mission. And to actually get the rotation C drops, you will actually need to unlock and hack each vault inside the missions. Successfully, that is. Rotation A is 1 vault, rotation B is 2 vaults and rotation C is then 3 vaults, which means all 3 vaults are successfully hacked. And that's how you can get the rotation C reward in the spy missions. And then once you actually progress a little bit further into the game, you can then run the tier 2 spy missions for rotation C drops as well, like Rhyme Rounds and Gathering Inferno and many other useful mods. And the tier 2 spy missions can be found on Ceres, Jupiter, Europa and Saturn. And finally at tier 3 spy missions in rotation C, you'll be looking out for Frostbite, Frigid Blast, Scourge and also Thermite rounds. And the tier 3 spy missions can be found on Uranus, Neptune, Pluto and Sedna. And it's very simple, you just have to get to rotation C and you have a chance of some very powerful mods, and even in rotation B and some of them you'll also have some great mods. But mostly you will be on the lookout for some of the ones I've mentioned so far, but there's a few different mods you can get in rotation C and B and so on, and just try to get them all. And now that you know how to get most of the 60/60 mods in Warframe, which will provide both a status effect and a status chance, a very powerful combo, especially early on for a lot of builds in Warframe. So I highly recommend actually farming for these as you progress the game, as they can be helpful and are used in loads of builds. Now for actually getting some quick mods, including some very important ones called the Archon Mods, such as Corrosive Projection, Steel Charge, Loot Detector and many more mods. And what is special about these Archon Mods is that they actually give you extra capacity to your builds instead of taking it away, while also sometimes providing buff for you and your squads. So as you play Warframe, you will be introduced early on to something called the Nightwave, which is a fully free to play seasonal pass of Warframe, which will happen over 4 to 5 months normally. And in this Nightwave you can obtain various mods, weapons, cosmetics, resources and much more. And you can access the Nightwave from the menu in the bottom right corner or directly from your orbiter right here. In the Nightwave you can complete daily and weekly challenges to actually earn standing, which will then level you up throughout the reward tiers while actually progressing. And you will unlock all sort of rewards, including the Nora's Creds. And these Nora's Creds can then be spent in the Cred offering, where you can actually get a lot of useful items, including some important Aura mods which we'll mentioned. These are very great early on, as mentioned they will give you capacity instead of taking it away, helping your builds perform better and overall just help your builds progress and actually making them a bit more powerful, as you can then upgrade your mods even further. So remember to check out this shop every week, as it rotates weekly, meaning you can actually find the mod you need or one you haven't gotten yet. Then next up is something called the Syndicate Mods, or more normally called the Augment Mods. These are special frame specific mods that can change or enhance how your Warframe's abilities actually work. These mods include something like Razor Wing Blitz for Titania, making her fly faster when casting abilities, Volatile Recompense for Kullervo, making it easier to actually gain your overshields for Kullervo with his second ability, Shield of Shadows, making it more survivable for Necros, and Despoil that actually changes Necros loot ability from energy to health instead, and many more for other frames in Warframe like these. So once you actually reach Master Rank 3, you'll get access to the Syndicate station in your orbiter, and in the station you can then plead your alliance to a Syndicate, and any excess affinity you will earn will then actually be converted into Syndicate standing for that Syndicate and its allies, while losing standing with its enemies. And what you want to do is actually work towards getting rank 4 with a Syndicate, because this is where you actually unlock access to the Syndicate's Warframe Augment Mods. And once you unlock this, you can then buy and sell these mods, and they usually go for around 5 to 10 plat if you actually decide to sell it to other players or buy it from another player. But all of the Augment Mods are split between the 6 Syndicates, so you won't be able to actually get all of them in one Syndicate. You will have to either trade with other players for the different Syndicates, or you will have to actually run in and then level up each of the Syndicate, which takes a bit of time. So I would recommend just selling the ones you have in your own Syndicate to actually sell them for other augments in other Syndicates, as you can can basically just make a one-on-one trade from different syndicates. And it will likely take a little bit of time for a new player to actually reach rank 4, but you will gain standing naturally as you play, so remember to check in every once in a while to actually see if you're ready to rank up with the syndicate, or if you have enough standing to actually buy an augment rank. Now for a mod farm called Farming Nightmare Mods, and one of the big rewards is a mod called Hammer Shot, which actually sells for over 100 platinum in the game. So if you get lucky and it drops, you might actually earn quite a bit of platinum, or you could save it for yourself, as it is quite a powerful mod actually. You can also get a variety of other mods from these missions as seen here, and a lot of them are actually used in many builds and can be very useful in different builds. And the reason why they're called Nightmare Mods is because they drop from a mission type called the Nightmare Missions. And these missions only spawn on a node of a planet where you have actually fully mastered the planet, meaning you have completed all the nodes and earned the little affinity icon next to the planet name, meaning you will now unlock Nightmare Missions on this planet. And once that happens, a Nightmare Mission will then spawn randomly on a node on this planet, and then when you complete it, you will get a mod depending on which group the Nightmare Mission belongs to. Group A mods can be found on Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, but keep in mind that the Nightmare Rescue Mission is a little bit special, as it can count both for Group A, B and C, depending on how many objectives you actually complete in the mission as seen here. So rescue missions are a little bit different, where otherwise the groups are actually connected to which planets they are on. And each group drops different rewards, such as Group A dropping Rotation A mods, Group B drops Rotation B mods, and Group C drops Rotation C mods. Then once you complete a Nightmare mission, it will actually disappear from the planet for 8 hours until a new one will actually spawn in on a random node on that planet. So I highly recommend once you actually completed some planets to start farming your Nightmare mods, since there's only a few missions and you can only complete one per planet every 8 hours, so you can gradually collect all the mods you want or sell the duplicates for platinum, so I highly recommend working a little bit on this early on. And next up is something called the Corrupted Mods. These are very powerful and used in plenty of builds in Warframe. Mods like Blind Rage, Fleeting Expertise, Critical Deceleration and many more fall into this category. And these mods will give you a higher bonus than a normal mod, but at the cost of a negative effect, for example a higher crit chance but reduced fire rate, or stronger ability strength but lower duration. It all depends on the mod, but they can basically be made to tailor suit your builds to actually work in a direction. And these corrupted mods can be obtained by finding and opening hidden vaults in missions on Deimos. But first you will need something called the Dragon Key to actually open these vaults, and the blueprint for the Dragon Keys can be found in your clan's dojo Archon Labs. So once you have the blueprint, you will just have to craft the key in your foundry and then equip it to your gear wheel, but keep in mind that these Dragon Keys actually comes with negative effects such as slower movement, less health, lower shields and so on. So while they are equipped onto your gear wheel, they will actually have this negative effect. Also, if you do have a negative effect or feel like you're slower, be sure to check out your gear wheel to see if you actually have them equipped, as some people might forget you have them equipped and you'll just have an annoying side effect while playing. So remember to de-equip them when you're not farming for this. But farming for this, I do highly recommend using Rhino, as his abilities will actually negate some of the effects, making it way easier to move around, survive while actually searching for these vaults, especially early on. And Rhino is obtained very early on, so it's highly recommended to use him here. Now with the keys equipped, head into Horrend on Deimos, either solo or in a group. You could just let your team know you're looking for the vault, though most people will likely be searching for them anyway in this mission, as it's probably the main meta mission to basically search for these mods in. Then once you or your teammates find and open the vault, the reward will be claimed and everyone in the squad will actually get the random corrupted mod at extraction. So you don't need to actually go in. If your teammate finds the vault and obtains the mod from there and extract, you will still get the mod. But one person on the team will have to go and get the mod. And that's basically how easy it is to actually farm some of the most used mods in Warframe. Just go in, get your vaults, then extract, and you will get a random corrupted mod. There's loads of these mods, so it could take some time to get the ones you need, but you could sell the duplicates you get or trade the duplicates for the ones you haven't gotten yet. Now for something that could be useful for newer players who haven't collected all the normal mods yet, there's something called Flawed Mods, which was actually something that was usually found around Warframe, but then they removed them and changed them to only be able to actually buy them from one place, which becomes available after completing the Chains of Horror quest in Warframe. So once you have completed Chains of Horror, you will get access to Iron Wake on Earth, where you can find a dumpster that actually sells all of these old Flawed Mods. They're basically a weaker version of your regular mods, and they can't be leveled up as much, but they can be pretty helpful, as these are basically an easy way to obtain the mods you still need, and then once you get the normal mod, you can just change them out for your builds. So it's a good idea to get these for the ones you haven't gotten yet, to basically make your builds work, as they can just work as a stand-in mod on until you actually get the normal variant of the mod. And these are fairly easy to get and will only cost you credits, so it's a nice way to get the mods you still haven't obtained yet. And this is just basically a quick tip for building your arsenal in Warframe and making sure you can still get your builds running even early on, as you don't have every mod in the game yet. Now for mods that are a little bit later in the game but are really great, called the Archon Mods, which are really great for certain Warframe builds. As you can see here on the screen, these mods will give you a strong bonus for specific Warframes and playstyles like Archon Stretch, which will also restore energy when you deal electricity damage with your abilities. And you can get these Archon Mods after completing the Veilbreaker quest, and this will give you access to something called Kahl's Camp, where you can actually start doing weekly missions to earn something called stock. And I do have a full video on how to actually obtain these Archon Mods if you want a more in-depth video, which you can check out right here. But to keep it short here, stock can be used to buy Archon Mods and the Senex Warframe, and also earn some cosmetics in the Chipper shop here. And to fully unlock Chipper, which is the shop where you actually buy them from, you will need to complete garrison missions for 2 weeks. Basically, each week you complete it, you will rank up the garrison syndicate. So you have to complete it at least 2 times to actually get the rank you need to be able to buy them from Chipper. So you just have to run these missions, get your stock, and then you'll have to turn them in at Chipper to actually buy your Archon Mods. Next up is Amalgam Mods, which are boss and event specific mods that can give you some really interesting effects, as you see here. These are the weapon specific ones that will drop from a boss in the game, while these are the category specific drops you can get from the Thermia Fractures event. So the boss you want to farm for these weapon specific mods are called the Ropalolyst, which is found on Jupiter in the Ropalolyst mission. And killing this boss and extracting from the mission will reward you with a random Amalgam weapon specific mod basically. If you're after the category specific mods instead, you'll have to do the Thermia Fractures, and this is a public event that happens fairly often in Warframe. And you can find it in the events tab or directly in Orvalis on Fortuna when the event is actually active, as it is an open world live event. And doing the event you'll need to collect canisters and actually throw these canisters into fractures to earn your points in the event, and then as you earn more points you will get more mods as you increase your total earned points in this event. But it is a one-time thing, so once you have 10 points you will always have 10 points. As you actually complete the event, once you reach over 100 points you will always have the unlocked. Now for something else, which is called Prime Mods, which are a better version of various mods in Warframe, letting you upgrade them further than the normal counterparts. These Prime Mods can be obtained by the bi-weekly vendor called Baro, who actually appears every other weekend from Friday to Sunday. When Baro is around, he will appear in a random relay on the map, or you can also check on my website when he will actually arrive, or you can ask in the in-game chat when Baro to actually see when he arrives. Baro appears in the random relay, and you can then go into that relay to trade with him with a special currency called Ducats, alongside with credits for random assortments of wares, including Prime Mods. To get the Ducats you need, you'll have to turn your Prime blueprints from relics into Ducats at the kiosk, usually found next or around Baro in the relay, and then you can use these Ducats to buy his rares, to Prime Mods, cosmetics, or anything he brings along every other week. Though there is a special event every year called TennoCon. When you actually buy the digital ticket for TennoCon, you will be able to access a relay with Baro where he will sell all of the items he has in his inventory for a week once a year. So that could be something if you actually wanted to pick up multiple or save up for that event, but it is only included in the digital ticket, so you'll have to pay real money to actually get access to this. Otherwise you'll have to wait each week for him to actually appear. And some mods you can pick up early, which would be very good to get, are the Prime Flow, the Prime Continuity, and the Prime Toxin or Status mods, which are very nice and to just have. Otherwise I know there's a lot of people out there doing like a Baro recommended list, or you can ask in your community like the clan you are in or in a Discord, so you know what you can actually get. Next up is the Riven Mods, which are something you probably have heard before as God Roll Riven Mods or God Roll Mods. That is because Riven Mods can actually roll random positive and negative modifiers, making a weapon build much stronger if you actually get a good roll on these mods. But keep in mind that Riven Mods are weapon specific, so if a Heck Riven, it can only be equipped and used on Heck and all of the variants such as Kuva Heck or Vacor Heck, and it will roll a random Riven in its category once you actually get a Riven, so keep that in mind as you can't really control. It is very much RNG involved mods, these things. So to easily get a Riven mod yourself, after completing the Chains of Harrow at Paladino at Iron Wake, she will actually sell 2 random Riven mods each week, and these mods can then be bought by actually using Riven Slivers, which can drop from any enemies above level 41. And there's also plenty of other ways to get Rivens weekly, such as sorties, the Archon hunt and much more. For a full breakdown, I recommend checking out my weekly checklist video, where I go over all of the weekly and daily activities you could be doing in Warframe, so I highly recommend checking that out if that is something that could be interesting to you. And then once you actually have a Riven mod, you have to equip it onto a weapon, but it doesn't matter which one. You then need to use this weapon in a mission to complete the challenge that will appear on the Riven mod. And then after completing this challenge that will appear and extracting from the mission, the Riven mod will then fully unveil and be assigned to a random weapon in its category, meaning if it's a primary weapon Riven, it will be a random primary weapon in the primary weapon category. And then once you have a Riven, you can then re-roll it at the mod station using Kuva to get new stats and modifiers, and keep doing this until you hit that God roll Riven. And it can cost quite a bit, but yeah, you can basically re-roll this Riven forever. Next up is Galvanized Mods, which are essential for making your journey into Steel Path and harder content much smoother. These mods, as you see here, have the base stat and a stacking multiplier as you perform actions like getting kills, and the multiplier then stacks on top, making them even stronger than the normal versions of these mods as a high-end or endgame mod version basically. And to unlock Galvanized Mods, you'll have to do something called Arbitrations, which is gotten after completing the task on Ares Junction, where you actually need to equip a focus lens on a piece of gear to unlock them. And this can be done in your equipment under actions by selecting the focus lens and equipping it for that equipment. And then once you have unlocked the arbitration missions, they will appear in your alerts tab and rotate every hour. Doing these missions, there's a special enemy called the Arbitration Shield Drone, and these shield drones will actually shield all nearby enemies from damage, and killing these drones has a 6% chance to drop a Vitus essence, which is required to actually purchase the Galvanized Mods in Warframe. Additionally, each rotation has a 7% chance to give you 3 Vitus essence as a bonus on top. Then once you have enough Vitus essence, you will have to head into the Arbiters of Hexes and talk to the vendor at the entrance. He will then sell you Galvanized Mods as well as other useful mods, but I recommend focusing on the Galvanized multi-shot mods first, as they will significantly buff your builds early on. And that should do it for some of the great mods to get in Warframe. Of course, there's still mods out there that can be dropped in all sort of content, but these are some of the primary ones you will probably need to be farming at some point early on, and that is used in quite a few builds in Warframe. So I hope you have found this video helpful. I've gotten the information you came for, so be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. If you want more Warframe tips and tricks, you can also check out my other videos, and on top of that, we also do have a Discord server, so feel free to join it and become part of the community. And thanks again to anyone who is actually supporting the channel over on the Patreon or here on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much, as you can see your name scroll by here. Other than that, stay tuned, stay tipsy, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.